Hello, we're back for part 2. So we're going to begin with me sharing my screen. Okay, so we are still back to the magical, we're in the throat chakra, and we're talking about the herb borage, and we're talking about the magical properties of the herb borage. And we've talked about all this cultural stuff, so please watch the first video to get all the, because this is all going to tie in. Of course, we've talked about all this stuff that's important.
It's
So,
all important, but we talked about the first part first.
exactly, everything's important. Everything builds.
Yeah.
Okay, so magical properties. Protection, obviously. So, which is amazing because that goes with the throat chakra. Perfect, of course. Courage, again, we've been talking about this the whole time. Borage, bring me courage, right? Or grant me courage. All those drunken Romans singing that, bring me courage. Okay, so flowers especially fortify the inner self, though. So, a woman who wants to elicit a positive response from a cautious suitor might slip borage into his wine to encourage him to pop the question, giving him courage. So, also financial gain. Borage is used. And I like that more than the spices because we've told a little bit about the spice problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of witches really understand that, but it all depends on where if you don't give a shit why this herb or that herb is tied with money, then by all means use it for money. I mean, it's probably going to be powerful for money because for years and years it was used to trade against rum and human flesh. So it was like that's the kind of money it's tied to is dirty fucking money.
Like
So
clove you're talking about and stuff.
cloves, cinnamon, all those spice
Yeah.
trade herbs that are
Yeah.
associated with money, all the spice trade herbs that were being traded, that's the reason why they're associated with money.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were used, the spices that were used in the spice trade with like rum and then slavery, those herbs are associated with money. So if you use those and I'm like I said, they're probably very powerful for money because they were associated for so long with like a money that sold human souls. So like they're like they couldn't get married. Like you like destroyed people and lives and generations. But hell, it works for money. So who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps like I don't, but I care. So I don't like herbs. I try to avoid spice trade herbs for using for money
Yeah.
because I don't want that kind of money. I don't want
Yeah.
ugly money. I don't want that. But borage is associated with money, and it's clearly not a spice trade herb. So this is much safer and much like I like to note that. I just like to put that out there. Anyway. So psychic powers, and also I want to say too, it's better than there's like a lot of ways to be gatekeeping this witchy community. And I'll tell you something, telling somebody not to use a saying it's fine to use this herb, but it's connected for this reason, so you can choose to use it or you can choose not to use it, is a whole lot different than gatekeeping a person, because
Mm-hmm.
people can use it as they wish, but if they can investigate it, the facts of the matter, that's the facts of the matter.
Yeah.
That's why it's associated with money. So,
Yeah. And I think that the more history you know about it, and like the deeper that magical connection is going to be. And so, like, I still use clove and cinnamon, but I don't use it for money or like finances because I'm aware of that. And I feel like if I was aware of why it was associated with money, it's gonna feel like not good, like magic, like I'm not gonna be proud of like this spell or something or whatever I'm doing with it. But if I'm using it for something else, that's fine. Or using like borage for money. I think that just knowing the history of the herb just strengthens that connection, which strengthens the magical connection that you have with it.
It does, and I use cinnamon and I use cinnamon as well. I use the spices as well, but I'm just very aware of like what I'm
Yeah.
using it for and why.
Yeah.
That's why I also like to look at the names, because that'll give, like, when we tear apart these names and these stories, we know, you can see that why the magical powers are the magical powers that they are.
Yeah.
Each magical power, like, almost, it's like, yeah, I see it. Maybe not. We'll
Yeah.
talk about psychic powers, but not telepathy, maybe.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you, like, courage. You could see that immediately. Like,
Yeah.
all those, like, you, because we had already talked about all those things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's also tying into what we talked about earlier about it being so important to um like talk about like to critically think about it, right? And do we agree with this or do we not agree with this? Because when we are agreeing with it, when we know why, oh, I'm going to use this specifically for like a self-love spell or something, when I know that this magical properties is coming from like this story or this lore, again, it strengthens that connection. And so I'm totally building off of what you say, but it's very true. Like, I think that knowing the history, knowing the past, and looking at it and analyzing, as opposed to just reading something and taking it for truth. You know, I think that
Exactly.
thinking about it critically is so important.
Yes. And you know what? So one of the things I was like thinking, like, so where do I get the money from this? And you know what it is? I know exactly what it is. It's the bees. It's like a
Mm,
pollen producer. It's like an abundant pollen producer.
yeah.
Not only that, but it has a specific way. So if you need a specific path to something, to your money, it will open up a very catered path to you for you to get to your money. It's
Yeah.
like the honey. It's like it's got like your special honey hole. I
Nice.
know. I love it. So also, like, knowing about the plant will give you insight into what, like, the magical powers.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
psychic powers, meditation, inner journeys. It also rouses from lethargy. It's will excite activity, and it's for joy. And I think it is because it was called that, joy of, it was used traditionally for depression and this herb of gladness. And it was used for courage and for gladness. And so it's going to, like again, before I was, when I had that image of the Roman soldiers all drunk and like lethargic, that's what AI did, because it was supposed to be, they drank the wine before battle. So they were like, that's what the where the joke was. Exactly. Because so it's supposed to excite you to activity. It's supposed to like rouse you to excitement and joy, get you ready for battle, get you like interested, and also joy because it's like an herb of great gladness. We know about that. That's what it's named, even. And even the most difficult situations, it can bring you joy. It expels it. In fact, it expels melancholy. Oh, I love these. Candy the flowers to heal heartbreak. Oh, what a beautiful healer of heartbreak would be, because they're so delicate. Like
Mm,
it would be like a spell that would be like done like that day. You would gather the flowers and candy them and consume them. Oh, so delicate and beautiful. So the medical properties, it is anti-inflammatory, a demulcent, a diaphoretic, a diuretic, an emollient, an expectorant, a galactagogue, and a tonic. So it is an adrenal restorative. It's good to use after a round of cortisone or steroids. It's a good part of an adrenal tonic. There's a lot of things that you can put in those adrenal tonics. And I don't even want to name drop, but I think there's one lady who's like all about like your adrenals, like as part of like your whole like a women's health. And
mm,
so I'm sure she's all about borage too.
Mm.
Fevers, so it'll help you to convalesce. I'm sure it's supposed to bring you happiness. So, and it stimulates milk production. So galactagogue, use the leaves and the seeds. It also promotes kidney activity. It's a diuretic, so it's going to make you pee. And it's employed to carry off feverish catarrh. So I don't know if you have feverish catarrh in your kidney, you've got more problems than borage is gonna handle, honey. Like you need
I
to
feel
see
like that should be said about our class in general, is like, look, we are like herbalists, witchy herbalists, but we also believe in doctors. So like
exact 100%. 100%. That's why I put that disclaimer at the end. Exactly.
yeah.
And literally, like that should tell you, like, who talks like that? Feverish catarrh. Okay, that's like obviously from some old-timey manual, right?
From like dysentery times or something.
Like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine having catarrh. Catarrh is like mucus, like grody mucus, like you're peeing out grody mucus. Please, if this is happening, you need to see somebody. You
Go see
cannot rely on
somebody.
borage. Okay.
Uh,
Anyway.
I have to get my charger. Sorry.
Okay.
I just got it. You can keep talking. It's
Okay. The medical properties continued is long sickness. Of course, the candied flower. That's again we're already talking about this beautiful, like loving, like healing properties and gladdening. Almost it's like gladdening, not healing necessarily, but gladdening powers of this candied flower. So long sickness, it excites you. It's gonna rouse you because what does a long sickness do but take this wind out of your sails? It just makes you feel like you're down in the dumps and you can't get over it. And so I'm sure that borage is very pleasing in that way. Also, it's used for your sore throat, which is an interesting correspondence to the throat chakra. Boil the ashes in mead and use as a gargle. This tells me that I need to make a borage tincture because lots of these remedies are talking about alcohols.
Yeah.
And I love myself a tincture.
Same.
So borage seed oil is high in GLA, and that's used during menopause and to lower cholesterol and with arthritis. Now, I want to tell you, before I go on to the external, there is some weird thing. You can't just press your own borage oil. Like, there's some like weird component to it that causes toxicity. So you have to just get it like at the place. Like, don't go like doing crazy stuff because there is some constituent in this oil that you need to have like go to, like needs to be taken out of it before you, I don't know what it does, but whatever. Anyway, so buy your borage seed oil from a reputable dealer. I'm sure at any of your local health food stores can help you out with that. Externally, you can use it as an eye bath for inflammation and redness, a poultice for inflammation. Really, ye old rheumatism cure again. When is there not? Okay, and then we're on to our next one. So Skullcap is our next one.
I love
Scutellaria lateriflora. The old scutellaria. There it is. There she is. Okay, I love her very much. That's what AI thinks she looks like. And I'll tell you what, okay, so before I show you the picture of mine, this is what happens with scutellaria. Scutellaria dies every year, and then it sends out it seeds everything. And I did not believe that scutellaria was going to reseed because, and I would squeeze the little seed pods, but there's just these dead sticks because I couldn't give up on it. Okay, because I just left him in the ground. I was like, oh, this is like my hope that like you'll seed. Okay, because I loved it. Okay, and there, look, oh, and there's another. Oh, and there's another. There's so many. There's like a million. There's not a million. There's probably like somewhere between 5 and 10 little skull caps that are coming up all over the place out of like 2. So I know. They did recede. Yay! So scutella, in the scutellaria, is a scutella is a small dish, tray, or platter, or it could also come. There's another way to talk about this. It's a scutellum is a little shield. So these are like in reference to the flowers. So the parts used are the aerial parts and the roots, and the other names for it. And these weren't very interesting because they just mostly were about the shape of the flower, except for two. So it's called blue pimpernel, helmet flower, hooded willow herb, because hoodwort, skullcap was spelled differently, Quaker bonnet, because it looks like a Quaker bonnet, and it's called mad dogweed or madweed because it was believed, not truly, but it was believed that it had properties that could cure rabies. So, and that's an interesting thing. So we'll talk about this later. So first, let's go to the correspondences. So the element is water or air, depending on where you're coming from with it. The planet is Saturn, Moon, or Mercury. The chakra is the throat. The deities, the only deity that I really could see associated with is the goddess, any goddess of the hearth, and for example, like Hestia. Mm. The moon phase is dark or full, depending on who you ask. A lot of differences. The tarot was the star. Mm. We'll see if we agree with that. The astrological sign, Virgo or Gemini. Gemini? Airy. Mm. Virgo, though. Maybe. Mm. Delicate. Particular. So the Sabbat or ritual is autumn equinox, and it helps transition to the dark half of your year. Also hand fastings, and this thing is bugging me. And initiations, especially women's initiations. The plant information. Skullcap, I told you about this. It propagates with seeds, and I had to see it to believe it. I did not believe it, and I was so stoked that happened. It was amazing. So you're supposed to harvest while it's flowering, and that's the height of the herbal potency is when it's flowering. So this comes to us. There are two different places where skullcap is found in a lot of places. It was found in Europe, and it was found in the Americas. And in the Americas, it was used one way, and it has a very specific use. And Western herbal lore in England, okay, let me tell you, Dum Central, okay? For this, it blows my mind, okay? Just mind blown, okay? So, first of all, the Cherokee, okay, rad. Cherokee used it as an herb of initiation from a girl to a woman. It was and it was a big women's herb. And even though skullcap grew in Europe, the Cherokee and other indigenous people taught the Europeans how to use it in this way as a women's herb, because they were not, in fact, using it. In fact, they weren't even using it at that time because they didn't know what the Cherokee knew, okay? Was that this is a women's herb. It's tied to women. It's highly tied to women and women's initiations. Okay, so Native Americans in general, or indigenous population, or I quote Native Americans because whatever the first persons, it's it used to only reference Canada. So, but now I've heard people use First Nations with even America, like in USA America. Yeah. But have you heard that? Yeah. First Nations. Yeah. So for a long time, it was just a Canadian thing. If you were talking First Nations, you were talking Canadian indigenous populations that were in above the Canadian border, but now that's not the case. So First Nations. So the herb was used to induce visions. So hence yeah, this is so rad. And as a ceremonial plant that was smoked as tobacco by some Native Americans. So these Native Americans are using it as a woman's herb. They're using it as, they're ceremonially, they're smoking it. They're doing all sorts of rad stuff with this herb. It's a very important herb. It's it's widely used. And again, women's purification rituals. So purification, throat chakra, and women's herb. Okay. So then meanwhile, back in jolly old England, they were constructing asinine remedies using skullcap, like rabies cures, that would eventually be discredited. So then they would just remove skullcap from the rolls completely because they only saw this asinine cure. Like literally, they are Malinowski in the they're like somebody needs to come in, and guess who just came in and said, you're an idiot, is the people that were living on the American continent, the people that were already here that were using that herb, just looked at them and said, what are you doing? Like, so they had all these ideas. Then they realized that the American indigenous population was using it. And after the 19th century, then Skullcap returned to the herbal formularies, primarily used as a nervine this time. So that's what the story with England. But don't you like my rabid dog? It took a lot to get like AI to make a rabid dog. It didn't want to make it. Some things like a ChatGPT is very touchy. It doesn't want to make things that are distasteful. But I don't think that really looks rabid for me. Like why?
It just looks like it rolls around in gum or something.
Yeah, it looks, or like maybe he has like mange.
Yeah.
He looks mangy more, right? We need a little froth, I think.
Yeah.
So the magical properties. Fidelity, which is an interesting one. Fidelity. It's used for fidelity so strong it lasts between lives. So, and yeah. And so you're supposed to add it to your lover's food to stop infidelity. And use a mojo bag with 2 lodestones to protect against infidelity. Protection. Where, and that's spelled, oh my gosh, I can't. This is too much. I can do a comma. I can do a parenthetical. I cannot do that. I'm sorry. Sorry, folks. That was just too bad. It was hideous. Okay, okay, so where, and you can again combine it with fidelity, where to protect spouse from another person. But I think it's protection in general. But magical properties more. So it induces trance and meditation. And it was used by the First Nations as a enduring ritual. So it induces, and also it's a nervine. So it does this anyway. So it induces peace and relaxation. You can use it as an incense for the same. It promote peace and calm in rituals, trance work, journaling, and astral projection. It keeps your body connected to your spirit during astral travel. So maybe because it grows on those little spindly spines that are like the little thread that you're supposed to be held by. And they're so strong too. You'd be shocked at how strong those little things are. Some things grow up just like so, like a baby little like spindle of things, and then these grew up like just like they're like square. Like first of all, like Skullcap has a square stem, and it grew out like not like half the size of my pinky, like it shot out of the ground that thick. I was like, damn, bitch, like that's like you got some girth. You got compared to my cannabis. I'm like, look, I'm growing cannabis to view it, just to see. It's not even the kind I smoke. But like it's so tiny and spindly when it first comes up.
Anyway. Delicate.
Exactly. So you can increase, for Skullcap, you can increase focus during meditation. It also is used to ground during meditation and post meditation. You can also use it for money. So here's another money one, right? Skullcap that didn't have anything to do with any like nastiness. Okay, so put Skullcap in a dish with coins on top to bring wealth. More magic. Oaths and binding. Use with contracts. It's also a women's herb. We know about that. Initiations, especially from girl to women. We know about that. Cleansing, especially after ritual impurity or to prepare for a ritual. So I was kind of bitchy about this because they're talking about like after if you believe that women become ritually impure when they are on their period, some cultures believe that women become ritually impure. Many Jews, like Orthodox Jews, believe women, they have to take a mikvah. Like, you know, like goodness. So you can't, men can't even touch them. You can't even touch them. Like not even, because they're so impure.
God.
You're impure.
I am impure right now.
You need some Skullcap to restore your purity. Yeah, right.
I'd like to stay impure so men would stay away.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm like, at first, I'm like, who sold them the men that nonsense? Give me some peace.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I like it to prepare for a ritual because sometimes we do want to purify ourselves for a ritual. So that would be a better option for that. So then the medical properties. So it is a nervine and a sedative. It's a great nervine. Okay, it's a really good one. It's an antispasmodic, it's an analgesic, hypnotic, a diuretic, and a menagogue. So it's a nervine. It relaxes nervous tension. It revives not revives nervous tension, but it revives you. So it's good for diseases of the nervous system, delirium tremens. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, that's when you're an alcoholic and you withdraw from alcohol too quick and you get the shakes. That's what delirium tremens is. And so in the olden days, if you like read about like people going and rescuing drunks, they would always take alcohol with them because sometimes they would find people shaky and you could die from having those, like having seizures. And so like strong nervines are often used. And if you go into a hospital, they'll use what are those? Benzodiazepines. You go into a hospital, which are sedatives and whatever, hypnotics. And then also for ADHD, this is like a good alternative to that freaking Ritalin shit show that they've got everybody on, but whatever, the whole upper thing. If you want to kind of take people down a notch instead of just revving them up some more, then you can give them a nervine. And then it combines well with valerian. That's what one thing said. But then I also read that there's also this rare liver toxicity. Some people, and if you are genetically, I'm sure, or have liver sensitivity, you shouldn't be combining it with valerian. Just a warning I found out there when I read one of the scholarly articles. Mental health, it's a nervine. It's used for anxiety, and it'll make you feel better. I think it's a good herb if you want to feel better. And I'm no doctor, I'm no psychiatrist, but you know what? We're out here doing whatever we can to feel better. And if you've got something that isn't going to hurt anybody, it's not going to cost you very much, it's not going to break the bank, and it's really going to do something, why not give it a go? Most European countries tell their people that they should try herbal remedies first, and then if they don't work, then we can go to the harder drugs. We don't need to go.
Most of the harder drugs came from herbs anyway.
Exactly. They just whittle it down. Exactly.
Yeah, just concentrated.
So it's good for depression and it's soothing to those who are easily excited, like me, like Lotta. Anybody doesn't know what Lotta is, it's a culture-born disorder that's like about being scared, jumpy from, it's like a scare disorder. Anyway, painkiller, it's a painkiller. So you can use it to gargle with, of course, for your sore throat or for mouth sores. And then the tea is hypnotic, but the tincture is restorative. So then the Cherokee used it for diarrhea. So I don't know if you should be cautious because it might cause, whenever somebody uses something for diarrhea, I always think, is that going to back me up?
Yep.
That's the first thing I think. So you may take caution. Note there. Okay, I don't want anything that'll constipate me, but I'd give it a go. Probably not in, I don't know. We'll see. Kidney stones. Did we say, oh wait, I'm gonna go back here. Hold on. I want to go back here because I want to look at this. Yes, it's a diuretic. Okay. So we're dealing with, it'll make you pee. Kidney stones, diuretic. Yeah. It'll clean for cleaning your throat. I'm sure I said clearing throat. I don't know why clean throat. Iroquois nation used it for that, to bring on menstruation. Cherokee used it to bring on menstruation and to expel childbirth. So you may not want to use this if you want to keep your pregnancy, because it can bring on menstruation and it can expel childbirth. And it's another herb to add to our growing possible uterine contraction stimulating herb list. Or it could be part of, and it also could make you feel a little bit better during the process. It seems like there's some other properties here that you might want for, like to have during, if you needed such an herb. Especially in light of you know what? I'm sickened.
The Arizona?
I am sickened. I am sickened.
God.
I am sickened. You know what? If you don't have bodily autonomy, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You have nothing. If I don't have free will and bodily autonomy, all my other rights mean nothing.
Yeah. Crazy.
Boo.
It's crazy. It is mind-blowing. Yeah.
There's a cute little autistic Catholic girl that's always, when she doesn't like something, she says, I'm sure she likes this real well.
Just so you know, we have 2 minutes left.
Okay. I think I'm almost done. So good.
Oh, cool.
Okay, we can start up with you. So these are the sources for chakras and borage. There's a ton. I used tons of stuff for borage. Skullcap, a bunch of stuff, everybody and everything. I kind of go through everything, and if I see something, I write it down and then I put a note. That's where I got it. So there you go. And we are done.
All right. So part 3 will be me.
Excellent.
Yay.
So, yay.
Okay. See you in part 3.
See you later.